recently I picked up a new camera, a nice DSLR, and sort of been doing a little freelance photography here and there. Nothing that I'm out here trying to charge for, doing weddings and parties and any of that, but just primarily for personal use and for family use. And family events such as the family reunion that we had in Cincinnati, Ohio, as well as my son's football games, and also looking forward to my daughter's upcoming track season and being able to take nice shots of her and so forth. And I'm really enjoying, learning more about photography. To be honest, it's kind of in the family a little bit, in the blood a little bit. My dad was a freelance photographer, some years ago, so I learned a little bit from him. But since that's been a little bit of time has passed and so forth, I've talked to a few photographers and I've sort of, tried to learn some of the tricks of the trade and how this game really works, how to really take good shots and get those perfect shots that you see and you're like, wow, that's a nice shot, that's a nice photo. So I talked to a couple guys, and one of the people I talked to was actually was my wife's cousin Sean, and he and I were talking, and he was giving me some different pointers and tips, and we were comparing our cameras and so forth, and he was talking about what he learned in class, and one of the things that he said to me was you always got to stay in focus. So I was like, okay, cool. I use autofocus. I ain't worried about that. I paid enough for this camera and these lenses that they're gonna do what the technology is supposed to do, right? When I hold, point and shoot. Autofocus. He was like, nah, Rich, you want a manual focus. You want to do the manual focus. And I was like, well, why? This camera costs enough money that I should be able to hold, let it zoom in, focus, and let's go. He's like, nah, you want to do everything manually, because when you do the manual focus, it helps you build a more keen eye for photography and helps you discover how to get those crisp, clean shots. And then you see things differently. I was like, wow, it's interesting. Okay. So from that point, I started to work with the manual focus. I ain't gonna lie to you. Some of the shots were blurry, were bad. I missed a couple shots at a couple football games because I, didn't focus fast enough, didn't zoom in fast enough. But it's learning, it's a learning process. Like I said, it's growing pains with this thing. But as I started to learn more about it, a couple things actually I learned from photography that we can apply to everyday life. Like I said, the topic is staying in focus. So the first thing I learned, that if you want to stay in focus, whether it's in photography or staying in focus in your life, is you have to always make sure your vision is clear. Make sure your vision is clear. And when we're talking about photography, you want to make sure your lens is clear, your lenses are clean. But your vision has to be clear. Can't have cloudy judgment with other things and other people in your ear and your head. You have to have clear vision. So if you want to stay on focus with a goal or being successful or being great or taking a good shot as a photographer, make sure your vision is clear, not clouded. The second thing is important, is you have to also remember that there are other people around, other people in the shot. I was reading somewhere that if you're taking a picture of a subject, you should never center that subject dead smack in the middle of the frame. In the box. You should always have it offset a little bit, off to the side a little bit, never directly in the middle of the frame. And I said, it's kind of interesting. And as I read more, it talked about how the other people in the backdrop, whether it's other things or people, like a car or a tree, an animal, those are the things that add more character to the photo. And the interesting thing about that in life is the other people in our lives, the other people around us, the other things around us, they add character to our lives. And even on a deeper level, we have to realize that life isn't just about us. So just like you shouldn't just center a subject directly in the middle of the screen, like that's the only thing that matters, you shouldn't live a life that you're in the middle or the center of everything and no one or nothing else matters. Remember, there are other people around you that also allow you to keep focused. And then the very last thing is, if you want to stay focused, if you always want to remain in focus, you have to have a firm stance and a firm grasp on where you're going. Now you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, wait. I got that. I understand that. I understand that you want to always have a firm grasp and a firm stance, but how does that apply to photography? I got it in life, but how does it apply to photography? Listen, I know I'm not the only person that's watched a video, probably an amateur home video of a party, a cookout, a sporting event, a dance recital, something where the camera was just shaking the entire time, and you're like, whoa, you're trying to stay in focus on whoever's dancing or performing, and you're like, I can't watch this. It's too shaky. And the reason being is the person that was doing the videoing didn't have that firm stance. They didn't have a firm grasp where they were zeroed in, they were focused, and they weren't moving. They were probably just videoing and probably watching it on the side or trying to video and hold the camera and so forth. And they weren't really focused on that firm stance. So how do we relate that to life? Because what happens in life is we can go through ups, we can go through downs, we can go through storms, and if we're not careful, just like that person with the shaky video, if we're not careful, when life throws us a storm, it'll turn us upside down and side to side, and we'll be all over the place, unable to navigate through the storm. And it'll come out shaky. It'll come out very blurry or very fuzzy, and life will be unclear. So you have to have a firm stance. You have to have a firm grasp on where you want to go, what you want to do, and on that subject. Listen, staying focused is extremely important, not just for photography, but for our lives. We can't get sidetracked or derailed by all the things that will come at us. All the good things that will happen will be blessings, and the bad things that happen will be lessons. And if we stay on focus, if we remain zeroed in on that target, keep our vision clear, keeping in mind the people that are around us, and keep a firm stance and a firm grasp on where we want to go, then those goals, those desires, that success, and being the very best we can be will all come to fruition.
Step back, moment to